Welcome back, horror fans, to the Weird Kid Horror Show. I am your host, The Weird Kid. I got a special treat for you today, ladies and gentlemen. A while back, I reached out to a very popular horror host by the name of Count Gore. And I would have been very appreciative if I just could have got a Skype interview with him, which is what I tend to do. But not only did he grant me an interview, he had invited me to the dungeon to actually witness the taping and to do the interview. And I'll tell you what, there's only one word to describe the experience, and that is epic. So the man really needs no introduction. One thing you'll find that's awesome about this interview is that you're going to get a crash course on the history of horror hosting and what exactly a horror host does. So without further ado, I give you Count Gore. Welcome to the Weird Kid Show, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, The Weird Kid, and I am honored we are here with Count Gore.
Yes, I am. This is my dungeon, and welcome.
Thank you so much.
It's good to have you here.
It's such an honor to be here. You know, I got to tell you, Count, the dungeon is a massive. I had no idea. From the point that I got here to the front door, it took us literally like 20 minutes of like trap doors, bookcase doors.
Yes. It's classic.
Now I'm going to be able to get out, correct?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Okay. Well,
I mean, frankly, did you ever see Raiders of the Lost Ark? You know, where that big thing comes rolling down, and Indiana Jones is trying to get out and all of it?
Yeah.
That's how it is here. That's okay. You know what? It'll be painless.
Okay, well, my mom's down at the car. She doesn't know. Ma, if you're watching this, if I don't show up within a half an hour, wait longer. Okay,
Yes.
So.
Okay.
Thank you, sir, again. Thank you for having us here.
My pleasure, I think.
Yes, and so you have been in this game for a long time, horror hosting.
February 3rd, 1973 in Washington. But actually, I hosted movies in Paducah, Kentucky in 1971 under a pseudonym, so that's... But yeah, it's been a while, yes.
Yes, and one thing that I've, in my research, have learned about Count Gore, is that when networks started to dump programming with horror hosting and stuff like that, you survived the horror host recession. Your show still thrived.
Well, you know, how can I say this? Recessions come and go, but vampires are forever. Actually, to be frank about it, there were waves. The first wave was back in '57. We're going to take Vampire out of this because she was the first, and she was a standalone in LA. But in '57, Screen Gems released the shock package of horror films. This was mainly the Universal films, not all of the classics, but I had a good chunk of them. And they said to all these VHF, this is one you used to have 2 to 13 on your click little tuner here. They said, here you go. And this film's short. I mean, they're 67, 70 minutes. And so everyone said, oh, these are too short. We need more commercial time. So they went to the weatherman and said, yo, when you're done with the weather, you're going to get into some kind of strange costume, go out there and host these movies and stretch them out so you put more commercials. And they did the same thing with the sportscast. They did the same thing with the voiceover announcer, the guy in the copy room. They did and then pretty soon they had this whole thing of horror books all over the place. And that really was the genesis of it. And this lasted for a good long time, right until probably the mid to late 60s. By that time, there was this new thing coming called UHF, ultra high frequency. This was everything above 13, okay, right up to 72. And by that time, the VHF, now there were networks or syndication, they didn't need to have horror hosts because they didn't need these short horror movies, so they went kind of away. They didn't need to produce this anymore. So UHF came along and they said, dang, what are we going to do for programming other than show Mexican bullfights, which were cheap? I mean, so they said, well, we'll buy horror movies and we'll get horror hosts. And that's the second generation. That's me, Sven Booley, Dr. Paul Bearer, yeah, we all came along in the second generation, okay? Then, by the mid-80s, the same thing happened. UHF station said, we no longer need to have these things because we now get syndicated programming because there's so much programming, so horror hosting started to fade. Didn't go away totally, but it started to fade. So then in '98, well, actually after that, it kind of went. Horror hosting went into the cable access stations. You know, the local cable operators had to have a little station, so they would let you use it for free. That's a good number. So people would go there, and then you had things like Carlos Borloff and Monster Madhouse and plethora, Halloween Jack, and there's so many of them. They all went to cable access, but the cable access is limited only to if you're plugged into the cable. Okay, so in '98 I decided to take it to the web, which was still very small. You know, you dial up and all the rest of this good stuff, but eventually a lot of horror hosts then ventured into the internet, and now we're into Roku channels and YouTube channels and Amazon channels, and yeah, it's never ends.
The power of the internet.
The power of the fact that there's a bunch of people who like to get dressed up and put makeup on and act silly with bad horror movies. So it's incredible power. If you can tap that, you don't need gas, oil, coal, wind, solar. You can run the entire world on horror host energy, but that's
You mentioned a gentleman by the name of Carlos Borloff.
Yes.
From Monster Madhouse.
He got started by being a guest star on my show.
Nice, very nice.
It worked out pretty good.
Well, I've been in contact and back and forth with Carlos, and he is going to be on the Weird Kid Show as well.
Excellent.
Yep. And so what I was explaining to my viewers here early on when I started this horror host segment, exploring horror hosting. I grew up in New England. We didn't have a horror host.
But you had lobsters.
Lobsters. We had lobsters. Good lobsters. Not like Florida lobsters. Good lobsters.
Big claws.
Yes. And other than like Elvira, some of the older ones, Zachary.
She didn't have big claws, but she had something else that was big too.
He said it, I didn't. So.
Come on, you gotta look at the obvious. Very much so.
But yeah, so horror hosting, I wasn't not aware of how ingrained in pop culture horror hosting was until I moved to Florida and saw Dr. Paul Bearer.
Okay, good.
And
good
so
example.
Now I'm interested because I guess you could say Pandora's box is wide open, and I got to get exposed to gentlemen like yourself, Al Omega, Carlos Borloff, and all these, and it just amazes me how much ingrained it is in pop culture.
Yes, it is. I mean, seriously, it has been, but it's been there for a long time. Like I said, since '57. I mean, and generations. And to be very frank about it, sometimes I'm very shocked. As a matter of fact, this 2 days ago, I was very shocked because I'm involved with the Horror Host Hall of Fame, and they're always looking to nominate new horror hosts to be members of the Horror Host Hall of Fame. And by the way, not only was I the first group inducted, I got to induct Elvira, which was cool.
Nice.
Yes.
Because of her claws.
Yes, she has great big anyway, but I have just been amazed looking at YouTube and the Roku channels and so forth, at how many new horror hosts. There's a whole new generation beyond the first internet generation. We're now in the second internet generation, which is going beyond that. And it's amazing. And you have to wonder, why? I don't know. I honestly, I look in the mirror, and because I'm a vampire, I see nothing, and I can't figure it out. So I don't know.
Well, we love the movies. We all love the movies. But it's the presenter. It's not just sitting down and watching a movie. You're getting a bonus. You're getting invited into, say, your house, where you are going to. Like I said, I hope I can find my way out of this place. But you know, you supplement the film.
You know, and that's interesting because we're talking. You know, and I'm not being serious here. This is strange. I'm being serious. I was just having a very great discussion about what horror hosts do, how horror hosting varies, and it breaks down to several categories. It's the solo host who wears little or no makeup and introduces the movies. Then there's the people like myself, who's a solo host, who does sometimes deal with the movie, sometimes ignores the movie, but deals with humor, deals with the concept of the movie. I've never had a sidekick, but then there's our people who have sidekicks. You know, they have the main host and a couple of sidekicks, and they do skits and stuff. And I have to admit, I kind of miss that opportunity to do skits because I think they're fun. We used to do skits on Channel 20 TV in Washington, and we used to have props. But it was different because I had an art department who created the props for me. I had crew people who could manipulate things and move things around. We had 3 cameras, one on a crane. I mean, it was awesome. Then we get into the internet thing. It's more 1 camera, 2 cameras sometimes. But then there's the people like Monster Madhouse that has got 43 people on it.
A lot of moving parts.
A lot of moving parts, and you know, not necessarily. I'm not being critical, but it's chaos, and it's wonderful chaos. But you're right. It's a variance of formats, and people are gravitated to some versus the others. And I keep looking for the unique things to steal. But that's okay. Because in horror hosting, everything is fair game.
But you've got to do something that very few horror hosts have gotten to do. And that's when you've worked with the networks to actually host licensed properties.
Yes. And actually, that is true. And that is the one downside of contemporary horror hosting, and that is we all are dealing in the same 75 public domain films. I mean, how many times can you watch Plan 9 from Outer Space? I'm sorry, it's a fun movie.
We can watch it a lot.
But you know, with every showing, it's more booze to be Or The Brain Wouldn't Die. It's good. The Wasp Woman, and these are some of the. How about The Beast of Yucca Flats? I mean, come on. I'm sorry. That's Manos, the Hands of Fate. Yeah, we don't even talk about
leeches.
Yeah, giant leeches.
Giant leeches.
But you know, it is true. And that's, I think, the limitation right now. The only way we can supplement is going to independent producers and say, hey, look, you just made this movie. It's okay. How would you like people to see it? Because right now you can't get distribution. You can't show it anywhere. No one's going to pay you to show it. You can't get it to the theaters. So now you've spent all this time and energy. Would you like somebody to see it? We'll show it. We'll host it. I'm not going to pay you anything because we don't have any money. And they say, sure, because they're disillusioned. Actually, they were delusional making the film, but that's another story. For example, there's a film that Steve Sessions, who is a filmmaker out of Biloxi, the thing called Cremains, and occasionally he lets me show that film. It's a little more mature than most of the films. We couldn't show this on television, but a lot of nudity. But then we have, what was the other one? Winkler. William Winkler, Frankenstein versus the Creature from Blood Cove. He uses it to promote his film, to sell the film on individual DVDs, and he lets me and other horror films host. But so we do have other outlets. And for another example, to break up the monotony of public domain films that you've seen way too many times, I have turned to the new filmmakers who make getting started, and they make short films. So we featured short films within our New Blood Showcase to highlight their films. And there's a lot of good stuff because these folks are really creative, and some of them have gone on. I won't name names, but I know two of the directors that we've shown films in the past. They've gone on to do major Hollywood films. Not necessarily as first director, but second unit director. Some of them are involved in special effects. So we break it up. We do a movie, say, Find Man from Outer Space, run it for 2 weeks. But on the beginning of the second week, we run a short film for 2 weeks, so they're always staggered. So, and then, of course, with the Roku channel, which is something altogether new, now we've got to show many more films. And so I break that up by doing celebrity interviews. So you're doing with me, except I'm not a celebrity, I'm just another guy in a funny costume. So I mean, you know, everyone's got to find their own niche on how to do this, and you know, mine's one.
You know, you touched on something where I think that's a great outlet, Count, because once upon a time for an independent filmmaker, you had film festivals, but there was only a small handful, Sundance, Slam, you know, all these little festivals to where you could potentially be discovered. But now it is absolutely flooded with film festivals.
And film festivals, right? Well, the 48-hour film festival thing is still an option. But things like Sundance and your major film festivals, they've been taken over by Hollywood because they use them as test markets. So how do you compete with, you know, all right, I've got this film, me and my buddies, we put this thing together, we worked 6 years on this thing, and finally done, and we had a budget of $20,000 spread over 6 years, and in comes this guy from Hollywood with a $20 million film. The filmmaker, the festival persons, what are they going to take? Your film or his? Simple. Okay.
Very true. So a good outlet would be to approach you, and then it would actually get seen.
Yeah. You're not going to make any money. But on the other hand, here is the dirty little secret of hosting horror movies. No one makes any money.
No.
As a matter of fact, I once threatened to write a book, horror hosting for fame and fortune, and it was blank. Because frankly, you might get fame, and fame might be only due to longevity. You know what I mean? Because like, you know, Zachary was, you know, until he was a horror host from '57 to when he died a couple of years ago, and I'm in that now for over 40, almost 50 years now. There's other Bowman Body out of Southern Virginia. He's been at it for coming up on 50 years. So yeah, I mean, you get longevity.
Sounds good. And I see, looking around here, I see some Rondo Awards.
Yes, there should be three.
Three Rondo Awards.
We should have two for, well, I don't even remember what the.
So you guys know
here's the Monster Kid Hall of Fame Award.
Nice.
And there's 2 awards, yes. And this is 09 for favorite horror host, and this is 04 for best horror website. Now this one right here, this is interesting. This is a Dark Shadows autographed by Jonathan Freed.
Nice.
It says, to Count Gore, Jonathan Freed, Barnabas. What's interesting about that is the fact that maybe the last thing he signed before he died. He got out of the convention business, didn't do autographs anymore, but a friend of his is a fan of mine and asked him to sign that. I got that, and within a couple of days after getting that, he passed out.
Wow. That's Barnabas Collins from Dark Shadows, in case some of you don't know.
Yeah.
That's impressive. That's impressive. And you've got a nice collection here of, I'm assuming some were gifts, possibly?
Actually, all of them were.
Okay.
People send stuff in, I put it on the set, and you know, actually I've got boxes of stuff. We rotate it every once in a while.
Well, I got my mom in the car.
Well, yeah, that's probably a good place for it.
I could could always just drop her off here.
Did you start the engine and run the exhaust? No, no, that was a different movie.
Well, I live with her. You see, I'm in between jobs, so.
For how many years?
It's been a little while, but I'm
very common.
so.
Quick, you haven't asked me that pertinent question you've always wanted to ask a horror host. Here's his opportunity. I'm putting him on the spot.
Okay, let's see. Favorite Universal Monsters favorite movie.
Universal. Okay, I'm glad you said that. Universal, because most people don't qualify that. Actually, my favorite Universal would probably still have to be The Bride of Frankenstein.
Bride.
I think it is a film more than Frankenstein and more than Dracula. It was the film that brought together all the elements that every other horror movie forever are based on. Dracula didn't have a soundtrack, a music soundtrack. Original Frankenstein didn't have much more either. This is the first one that had a custom-made soundtrack. They had actually hired somebody to do the music for it. The lighting, the film, the makeup, the shooting, the acting, the script, it all fell together. So that's why I would do that.
There's a question, a little pop quiz for the audience too, because maybe a lot of people don't know this. You know who was responsible for all of the gadgets and gizmos, the set design, the Tesla coils and all of that?
Tesla built a Tesla, right? And then he went on to build cars. No, I have no idea.
A lot of people think that Universal Studios was responsible for the set, but no, it was one man who sadly was not credited until many years later, a gentleman by the name of Kenneth Strickfaden.
And yes, I'm terrible at names, but you bring it up, and a number of the Strickfaden devices were found, refurbished, and used in Young Frankenstein.
Right.
So there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. It's amazing though that in Hollywood, first of all, one of the reasons why it was not credited is because back then, credits at the end of the movie lasted 16 seconds. Now it's 16 minutes. And the third cousin of the best boy is labeled as such, but I don't understand that either, but everyone gets a credit. I forgot where I was going with
Well, you point out not getting credited. Right there we have Linda Blair.
Linda Blair. Well, actually, that may be
Eileen Dietz. And Eileen Dietz sat in Dick Smith's chair while he put all this wonderful prosthetics on. And sadly, you watch the credits, she was not credited for that.
Yeah. There's a whole bunch of that stuff going on, and it's like when my alter ego is involved in a couple of films, and I always make sure that we'll make sure when we get to the end that it's names in the credits, and also on the IMDb, because Internet Movie Database, IMDb.com. Go there, put the title of any movie in, almost any movie in, and it'll come up with all the real credits, and you find out who did what and what they're doing now.
It serves as a good actor's resume too.
Yeah.
Go-to.
Actually, I need to fix it up because somebody's been manipulating it to the good, but it's inaccurate. And the same with Wikipedia.
Wikipedia, you could say just about anything on there.
Well, that's true.
Okay, favorite Hammer horror film?
That's more tough, and I'll tell you why. I am not versed in that many Hammer films. It was a time in my career. Well, first of all, we didn't have any of them to host when I was on Channel 20, so I didn't get to do any Hammer films for whatever reason. They were probably too close to the fact that this was 70s and 80s, and they were still being reruns on the theater center. Actually, I've showed more Hammer films. Actually, there are 2 in public domain. I've shown more of them on the internet than I have on TV. So I honestly don't know. As a matter of fact, so I'll have to pass.
How did you even get up here?
That's your mother?
Yes, I told you, go wait in the car.
I'm starting to get bored.
Oh my gosh.
I don't even know how she got up here.
She sounds a little bit like a
Well, I gotta keep her away from music because my mom's single. She's been single for a long time, but she's old and her plumbing leaks a little bit.
Let's see how you are when
Well,
you
that's okay. You know, most of the dungeon is made of stone and concrete, and yeah, okay. Maybe you ought to take her back to the. Attempt to take her back to the car. You're both lost. That's okay. We'll find the bone someday.
So what do you see for the show in 2020?
2020. Well, that's close enough. We're going to do the same old. Basically, my hands are. I'm right now plates full. I mean, we do the weekly web program. So every week at CountGore.com, you know, you go up there and we change the program every Saturday night, and we've been doing that since '98. Then every month we have, like I said, the Roku channel, Count Gore Presents, which, by the way, is free and without commercial interruption. I interrupted with the no commercials. You don't have to watch horrible commercials for plumbing, drain cleaners, tampons.
But you're on YouTube too. You got YouTube.
You know, I don't use YouTube that much. I have a YouTube channel, but frankly, it's used primarily for promotion. There is a reason why I don't use YouTube. And I think a lot of horror hosts, Carlos will tell you, YouTube uses algorithms to look for copywritten music. Okay, and you know, I'm a firm believer in copyrights. Trust me. But I have been flagged a number of times and threatened for using music that I actually wrote and performed. And, you know, or if it's a promo, for example, when I host movies for the American Film Institute, which I do 3 times a year in Washington, we use rented films. We pay for the film, and with that comes the right to use the trailers. So I will go on YouTube with the trailers, which are, by the way, already there. But anyway, and they will flag me for saying, you're not authorized to use this trailer. I'm going, excuse me, you've got, you know, and we're paying for this. I mean, they will eventually relent, but it's just a pain. So I tend not to use a lot of YouTube. So that's just
Roku.
Roku's so cool because anybody can make a channel. All you need to do is have a streaming service. All you need to do is have some smarts, coding, and you can make it.
I'm screwed.
Well, we won't talk about your role.
Is there anything else? Would you like to plug anything?
Well, like I said, just come every Saturday night to CountGore.com and see more public domain films and some new films from new producers and shorts. And then if you have a Roku, go to the search function and put in Count Gore Duvall. You won't even get that far. You get Count Gore and it'll pop up. Count Gore Duvall Presents. Add it to your list and then watch every month. Beginning of every month, we change 4 new features, 4 celebrity interviews, and 2 shorts. Boom.
And although the Count doesn't use YouTube proficiently,
That's true.
That's the correct word. It's fun to watch. He's got the little time slots for the commercial. It's still worth checking out.
Oh yeah, I mean.
But you also have a website.
Well, the website started it all, CountGore.com. You know, I mean, it was the first horror host website ever. On July 11th, 1998, we went, and yeah. So you'll have celebrity interviews, and usually, and I said, for 2 weeks you'll have a film, and then a feature film, and then on staggered 2 weeks you'll have a short. And then we have contributors, Dita Dirk Map, who reviews culty DVD DVDs out of LA. We've got Mark J. Gross, who interviewed the celebrity interviews out of Baltimore. We have the Tombkeeper, J.L. Como, a horror writer. She reviews books, and occasionally other things too. We have contests, usually going all the time. And yeah, it's this kind of
a variety.
Plus, also notices of when I make personal appearances, although I'm not doing as many as I used to.
Well, let me ask you, Count, if let's say I wanted a Count Gore Duvall t-shirt.
We do sell merchandise. Thank you. See, my business manager always says I suck, and it's true. At merchandise. So yes, we do have t-shirts. And we have a plethora of DVDs hosted by yours truly. And actually most of them are really good because we've taken the public domain films, and because we have the capability of doing it, we up the resolution, we clean them up, they look really good. Make them, most of the time, we take them out 16 by 9 if we can, because the way it's shot, a lot of the old films are shot very wide, so you can actually take them 16 by 9, so it looks big on your, looks great on your 100-inch plasma or LCD TV set. What else? Oh, we also have autographed pictures. So, and occasionally I do some conventions. We always do Scares That Care, which is a charity convention in Williamsburg every late summer, early fall. I do Pensacon in Pensacola, Florida. Let's see, those are the only two I'm doing regularly now. Anyway, I said in the Washington, D.C. area 3 times a year, I do host movies at the American Film Institute. That's fun because that's live hosting. I get to pick the movies. This is so cool, and they get these great prints. I mean, we've done the original Dracula, original Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, The Wolfman. We've done the Thing from Another World, plus The Thing. We did that as a double feature, so you can see twice the number of things.
Lou Carpenter, right?
Yeah. Well, we did twice the number of things. We're talking about Elvira. Sorry. Yes. Anyway, so we've done this now for since 13, 3 times a year. So it's fun.
Nice. Okay, and like I said, I'm down in the description. I'm going to provide all the links to the station, the YouTube channel, and the website. There's no way you can be bored. There's such a variety, and I keep hitting this guy.
And you know that's
wet. Slimy through.
Give the guy a hand. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. And look, if you ever get bored, just pour another alcoholic beverage. You'll feel better.
So, Count, I want to thank you so much for having us here, welcome us into your home.
Hey, Mom, he's coming.
What does this lever do?
No, don't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a car, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's good.
All right, Mom, please.
Thank you. Well, you may not see him again, but maybe I will let him out.
Yeah. What can I say, guys? That was phenomenal, with the exception of, Mom interrupting. I apologize for that. It worked out beautifully, though. I couldn't ask for a better interview. It was a tremendously positive, joyful experience to have time with the Count. It did take a couple of hours to get out of the dungeon, a couple of dead ends. Mom almost fell in a bottomless pit, but we managed to get out, and I managed to get home and edit this thing to bring you this fantastic interview. So you gotta check him out. If you don't know who Count Gore is, check him out. He's been around forever, and he's got fantastic content. He's on many different forms of media, YouTube and Roku, and he sells his own DVDs. So go and check out his website. Check out his store. You can purchase DVDs of past episodes. You can buy t-shirts and merchandising. I encourage you to go check him out. So if you haven't done so already, like and subscribe, and click that bell. It's going to let you know when I upload another video. And I'll tell you what, there is so much. My head is literally spinning from all the sticks I have in the fire. I've got so much coming. There's just not enough hours in the day. I'm backed up on interviews. I got some more prop tutorials coming. I'm going to be doing a movie review, and eventually here I'm going to start getting into horror-related toy reviews. And there's a few things that are around the corner. I got to be patient and wait for them to unfold, but I'm just super excited. There's so much to come, and I appreciate all you that have subscribed, and I will continue to make videos and hopefully entertain you. So until next time, I appreciate you. Peace.